know you're not supposed to talk when I turn the headphones on, right? Because I can't hear what you're saying, and I don't trust what you say.
I just said we're going early.
Oh, no, but you laughed after that.
I did, so did Casey.
There was more to that conversation. I'm paranoid now. So that's the way we're starting today here at KCIM Sports Rewind with mass paranoia in the studio.
All those years dealing with Honnold in here, right?
I know. It scarred me for life, I swear.
We all scarred for life.
So last week I made a little fun of the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
Losing, 121 games officially this year. 41 and 121. Yay, way to go, White Sox. You really did a nice job this season. So we mentioned Gary Jensen's name. Gary's the manager over at the Jefferson Hy-Vee now.
Yep.
Used to be over here in Carroll for a long time. He called me up the other day after we mentioned it. He says, yeah, I heard all about it and stuff. And he goes, made my day and all this. He goes, I do have a Chicago White Sox tattoo on my leg, on my calf. He goes, I have the whitest legs in town because I haven't been able to wear shorts all season long because of the shame of that Chicago White Sox tattoo.
Yeah, I feel for him with that. Yeah. Who's to blame? I mean, who do you blame? Is it the GM? Is it Reinsdorf?
Yeah.
Is it the manager? I mean, who's to blame?
Their management is horrid.
It is.
I don't know how they managed to win a championship. All those, it was 2005, I think it was.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
But it has, yeah.
But, man, I bring back, Ozzie Guillen was the manager then and all that. So he was a Chicago White Sox guy.
Yeah.
Until, after that, they have no identity, really.
Right.
The whole organization.
It's going to be a clean house sweep, I feel like.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. My Twins collapsed right before the playoffs. So, but they're not changing anything. Not well, at least not the manager or the baseball operations guy or anything like that. So, we'll see what they have to do in the offseason. But
so what went wrong? What went wrong with the Twins?
The Twins? Injuries. I mean, starting pitching went down, and all of a sudden, Carlos Correa went down. Buxton was down for a long time. Royce Lewis was out for a little bit late in the season. There was young guys. It was like a AAA lineup a lot of times. There was a few good pitchers left, but not enough. Not enough to carry you through that. So, but they just didn't hit.
Right.
So, Pete Rose passing away this morning, 83 years old. I'm not sure if I feel really bad. Pete was just one of those arrogant guys that I never really cared for.
Do you think now that he's passed, he'll get to be in the Hall of Fame?
I think so. I think he will.
Well, he's going to be out of his own way now.
Right, yeah. As a Cincinnati Reds fan and lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan, I've always had mixed emotions. I loved Pete as a player, even when he managed. We took second place pretty much every year that he was there. Always felt like as a player, with the way he played the game, he deserved to be in the Hall. But then there was that part of me that said, for 30, 35 years, whatever it was, he lied and said that he didn't bet on baseball. And then he acknowledges that he did, in a book so that he can make money, because it was always about Pete making money, and stuff. And so as a player, I think he deserves. I think he'll go in now. It may not be right away. They're not going to go, oh yeah, here let's induct him this year. But I think he'll get in now and stuff. But it's still sad. Still sad to see him go.
1919 Chicago White Sox. They're not in.
That's true.
Joe Jackson and things like that.
Right.
So they're not in.
Yeah, and it could be they may wait until, and it may not be like the actual committee. It might be like the writers may never put him in, but you might get that secondary committee. I forget what they're called, the Veterans Committee or something, may end up putting him in at some point.
But is he going to go in before Bonds or Clemens or some of those steroids guys?
I don't know, and I hope someday those guys go in.
You look at Bonds and Clemens and all of them, like their steroids impacted the way they played. Pete Rose's betting never impacted the way he played.
Right. No. But as a manager,
he was a jerk on and off the field,
right,
no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. But as a manager, to bet on your own team, I know he never bet on the Reds to lose, but if you bet on us to only win by 3 and we're up by 4, do you make that pitching change that saves your bet? So what he did, I say that I hope those other guys go in too someday, simply for the fact that they're not the only guys in that generation
that did it,
that were doing it, and there are guys that are in the Hall of Fame. There are guys that are worse people than those guys in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he started clubbing 60 home runs, for the Giants. Roger Clemens was the best pitcher in baseball before. Sammy Sosa's the one I question, and I know you're a Cubs fan, but he was not a household name until he became a home run guy, and so the steroids, I think, may have impacted his ability.
You don't go back to him and Mark McGwire having a home run off.
I do, but they were using it that time.
Yeah, they were both on the steroids that time. The thing I remember most about Pete Rose is him just demolishing that catcher in the All-Star game. I was like, that was ridiculous.
Yep, and that's where the nickname Charlie Hustle kind of got in there. And, that was uncalled for, but that was the way he played the game. It was all out every play of every game, doesn't matter what game it was.
Didn't he hurt that guy, and the guy was never the same?
Yeah, the guy, I think he ruined his career, if I remember correctly. Blew out his collarbone or something of that nature.
In an All-Star game.
Yep, but
I mean,
that's the way he played. You listen to Tom Brady talk about the excellence in his broadcast the other day and the whole comments from Baker Mayfield and stuff. And it's those elite guys. I mean, people didn't like playing with Tom Brady. People didn't like playing with Michael Jordan. People probably didn't like playing with Pete Rose because they held you to a different level.
Yeah, well, he's 83. We'll see if he makes it into the Hall of Fame eventually here.
And Dikembe Mutombo. I know maybe not a ton of NBA fans out there, but especially in this part of the country.
Him wagging his finger at you. Get that stuff out of here, man.
Passed away from brain cancer yesterday as well.
58.
So,
wow,
two Hall of Fame players, one in baseball and one in the NBA.
All right, let's get to our trivia question here. I got a two-parter here for you.
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about, first of all, baseball playoffs start today. Who has the current record of the longest number of losing seasons? I mean, who is the biggest, I don't know how to say it, consecutive Major League Baseball losing seasons? Who holds that record right now actively?
Rockies?
No, the Rockies do not.
They were pretty good just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Angels?
The Angels.
Okay.
The LA Angels have 9 years where they have not been a winner. Had Shohei Ohtani for a number of years. They've had the best player in baseball.
Albert Pujols.
Trout. They just have not been able to put together a winning team. Rockies are second with 6, along with the Pittsburgh Pirates at 6, and the Washington Nationals at 5. That one
surprises me.
Yeah, but they won a World Series.
They won a World Series here probably 5-6 years ago.
2019, I think.
That was probably 5 years ago. It was 2019. Was that? Or 2020 was when they started that.
And when was the year the Angels were good with Mike Scioscia?
Boy,
they pretty much fell apart, though, after that, didn't they? They really haven't been good since that year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they really fell apart after Scioscia left. All right, the other side of that is football. Who has the longest active streak of losing seasons in the NFL? Do you know that one?
Oh, I know who's the longest active non-playoff team in the NFL because it's my favorite team.
And that would be?
The Jets.
The Jets.
I was going to say, are they the longest losing season drought?
No, because we went. Are they?
They are.
Yeah, the 8 of them. It was 8. Ryan Fitzpatrick was their quarterback the last time they had a winning season.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Their offense didn't look very good the other night.
Denver, but Denver's defense looked pretty good.
Yeah, it did. But has Aaron Rodgers finally lost a step and lost some arm strength?
He's 40-some years old.
I know. And coming back from a devastating injury. Yeah.
I think so.
And they get my Vikings in London coming up this next Sunday. So
you got to be happy with the way they're playing. They've got the MVP of the league.
Sam Darnold,
right now.
Former Jet.
I know.
Former Jet is an MVP.
It's funny how Sam Darnold plays well for the Vikings, and who takes the most grief? The Jets.
Yeah.
Because they had him first.
Yeah.
And
but he was terrible with the Jets.
But they had a disaster.
We had a disaster of a team. Yeah,
and everybody, I think, when I heard from other former players, because I watched some other things on like YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, that's the worst organization in football. You don't want to play for the Jets."
Yeah,
so,
I wouldn't blame them.
Here's a stat for you: the Vikings have only trailed for 3.5 minutes the entire season, and that was to the Giants.
And that was to the Giants.
They haven't been behind a second from playing San Francisco, the Texans, and the Packers.
I will tell you this: I watched Sunday a little bit. They got up 21-0. I flipped over, started watching a replay of the Nebraska game. And I'd never looked back at that Minnesota game, and then I see they won by 2, so they had to hold on.
Well, it should have been much more lopsided. They had a really stupid muff punt at the end of the first half that gave Green Bay a touchdown just before halftime. And, there was an interception that probably should not have been an interception. There was they fumbled the ball down near the goal line. So, I mean, they should have run that score up a little bit more. But still, had to hang on to win.
So is it the snapper, the punter? Who's your most frustrated at? You haven't announced that for a while.
It was actually a punt reception as Jaron Naylor. Jaron? Jaron, whatever.
Jalen Naylor.
Jalen Naylor, there you go.
Okay.
He went back and went to catch the punt and then wound up trying to catch it over his head in the sun.
Wow.
And it just glanced off his hands, bounced right towards the end zone, and then Green Bay scored like a play later.
So is he your the person who makes you the most mad?
Hey, you're 4-0. You're not going to single anybody out.
I don't know.
I am loving this NFL season. That's the way they're playing. Yeah.
If you're an Iowa fan, you got to be upset with how Philadelphia's kind of treating Cooper DeJean right now. Did you see his two muff punts in the Tampa Bay game?
I did not.
One, a Philadelphia gunner, like the guy on the outside, pushed a Buccaneer player right into him, muffed the punt. And then another one, his teammate comes, just lays him out, running down the field, tries to stop, can't stop, just lays Cooper out, muffs up another punt. And I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm going to have to go back and look for some of that
Philadelphia
stuff.
right now looks like a dumpster fire.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, their head coach is on his way out.
If they don't get it turned around, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's talk about some big wins in high school football. Kemper and Carroll rolling out to some big wins on Friday night.
Yeah, Kemper was awfully impressive both sides of the ball. Dominated a pretty good Greene County team. Never really let them get going offensively. The one drive they had turned into a one-handed interception from Griffin Glenn in the end zone. And as a former defensive back, and when I played in high school, that it was fun watching the way he turned the hips and turned and ran and found the ball and played that extremely well. But
he's
dominant.
having a really quietly good season.
He is.
I think it's third interception already on the year. So.
Yeah, and just a sophomore. So, and offensively, able to establish Jaron Hoffman again in the run game, and Braylon Alford came in and ran the ball well for him. They just were able to run the ball, and that opened things up for Brock Bading in the pass game. But they're rolling. They've got a big one coming up this weekend. The first rankings are out from the Iowa High School Athletic Association, and these are the power rankings that they use to help kind of seed, the postseason and stuff. Kemper coming in at number 5 in Class 2A. They go to Des Moines Christian, who is ranked number 7 in Class 2A coming up this weekend. So not going to be an easy one, but the winner of this one should be, the absolute favorite to win the district this year.
One thing I want to point out about Kemper, last year they threw the ball all over the place. This year seems to be getting it done on the ground. Jaron Hoffman's been a pleasant surprise for him. I think 4 straight games over 100 yards.
Yes, and the offensive line has kind of started to gel and everything. I think that they've kind of found their identity this year, and it's more with the ground game than with the aerial attack that they had last year.
Where do you think they're ranked if they don't have Heelan on the schedule?
They're probably up.
Yeah, they're probably up a spot or two. I don't know. Spirit Lake and Van Meter both have one loss as well. I think they may jump Van Meter in those rankings, but you're also looking at the tradition of Van Meter and the tradition of Spirit Lake, so it'd be hard to see maybe Kemper, even an undefeated Kemper team, jumping over them. So.
Carroll High going up to making the long road trip. MOC Floyd Valley coming away with a 20-point win.
Their 2 toughest tests will be these next coming weeks. You'll find out a lot about Carroll on Friday for their homecoming against Bishop Heelan. But MOC, I think a lot of people picked as the district favorite to come in Class 3A District 1, and Carroll went up there and kind of handled them on the ground. Tatum Peterson had a great game, 252 on the ground, only on 28 carries, a couple touchdowns. Carter Essick, I think I remember correctly, 7 of 11, 194 yards, four touchdowns, 3 of them going to Owen Cluckey. Owen Cluckey averaging over 30 yards a reception right now, 6 touchdowns on the year. The offense is clicking the last 3 weeks.
So you're pretty good at remembering numbers. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember talking with Coach Rowetter Saturday morning. 7 catches, 6 touchdowns for Owen Cluckey the last 3 games. It's got to be
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So almost every time he's touching the ball has been a touchdown.
Yeah.
So his numbers are incredible
had
right now.
4 catches, 3 touchdowns last week. So.
Yep.
Game of the week had to be South Central Calhoun and IK Manning, 16-13.
A defensive game. The offense has kind of struggled there a little bit. IK Manning able to throw the football really well. They're probably the best aerial performance of the season have been Ramsey. I think 15-25, 170-something, a touchdown. Didn't turn the ball over. Not a whole lot of turnovers in the game. I think 1 by each team. So you can't look at the turnover battle as the big difference in that game. Cole Higgins hit a 32-yard field goal to kind of put him ahead in the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, both teams never really gave up. IK Manning had some drives, but unable to do much with them. So it was a really defensive game if you listen to it and we're up there watching it.
Yeah, and both of them going to be really tested this week. With the win, South Central Calhoun stays in the hunt for a postseason berth. They'll step out of district this week, taking on number 1 West Hancock, and ICAM Manning gets number 2 ACGC. You and I, Casey and John was listening as well. You look at ICAM Manning's schedule the last 4 weeks.
You go from Earlham, who's ranked.
Yep, a ranked Earlham team to a ranked Riverside team to South Central Calhoun, and then on the road, and then you've got a ranked ACGC team. I thought there was 5 really, really good teams in that district to start the season, and for ICAM Manning, in a way, poor them that they get the other 4 of them. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The other one's game of the week, East Sac County 27-0 over Pokey, so that's a very nice win for East Sac County.
They've got a really legit chance now at that second spot in the district. I think their game against Manson Northwest Webster coming up here in a couple of weeks probably going to be the one that decides that, but they've got a chance to get on a run here and gain some confidence.
I would say with a win probably on Friday, being that I think they get 4, right?
Yep.
The top 4, I would say would guarantee it, but probably looking pretty good as a playoff lock with a win on Friday against 0-5 Eagle Grove. But McCullough told me when I interviewed him yesterday that last 2 years they haven't played good on the road. They've got a long bus ride up there. He's really going to challenge his kids to get off the bus and come ready to play in a game that they should win. Yeah,
they shouldn't go into any game just like showing up. They have to play well to win, but I literally think they've got a chance to win out. And finish off a pretty good season.
And it's going to be huge because if they get the second spot in that district, they get to host a home playoff game.
Yep, which would be huge for them, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned the rankings earlier. Audubon is in the rankings at number 6, and they just cruised by Coon Rapids Bayard.
Yeah, took charge early, something that they didn't do the first 2 weeks of the season. Now the last 3, they've taken charge early, if I remember correctly. I think it was 32-0 at the end of the first quarter. And a lot of that came at about the last 5 minutes of the quarter, and that's what they're capable of doing, is just putting spurts together against you. This is a dome quality team. Whether they get there or not, we'll have to wait and see how the pairings look and who they will maybe have to go through. But they're good enough to be in the dome. The interesting thing is, as we talked last week, that Arweva was going over to Woodbine, and Woodbine wasn't ranked. Now the High School Athletic Association rankings come out, and they're 5th. Woodbine's 5th in that. So not ranked by anybody else, but 5th by the association.
And Arweva up in that one, 20-6 at one point.
Yep.
End up losing 50-20 to a pretty good Woodbine team. Doesn't really hurt Arweva, but now it's kind of looking like that week 8 game against Boyer Valley at home is going to be a big key, like it was last year, them making the playoffs or missing the playoffs.
Yeah, that game there could determine who the final seed is, coming out of that district and going into the playoffs. So, but, I think if you're them, you still got to stay healthy. I think they had to be really happy with the way they controlled that first half against Woodbine. They were in control of that football game.
Heartbreak for Glidden Ralston against Collins Maxwell, 46-42. Wildcats taking the loss there.
Seems like they just trailed the whole game. They couldn't really. It was a close game throughout. When I remember typing up the scores, but they just couldn't really get that drive together to give them the lead. They were able to keep it. By it within a touchdown at 2 points, 3 points, but just couldn't get that score to put them on top for good.
Did they have? You wrote the story this week. So did they have some possessions down by less than a touchdown?
I would assume so. I don't know for 100% sure because we didn't get that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But the way it seems, the way the score was going, by quarter wise, it just seemed at the end of every quarter they were down by 2 or down by 3.
Okay.
And so they couldn't really get themselves ahead.
Yeah, wasn't for sure if they just didn't get the stop they needed to get the possession, or if they just kept every time Collins scored, they scored to answer it, but just were always
that I'm not 100% sure on.
Behind. So.
All right, so that kind of wraps up the week in high school football. We do have to get our sack of the week in from Market on 30.
Yes, and Kent Sanders from the Kemper Knights, such a dominant linebacker and has this ability. I don't know how he does it, but he reads those creases extremely well and then uses that great quickness to be able to get through them, but had a big sack against Greene County. So Kent Sanders is our sack of the game. And our sack of the game winner, John, is
Jill Higgins of Loreville. So, Jill's, congratulations. You got that sack of groceries coming your way from Market on 30. Make sure you get down and sign up this week for the sack of the game.
Good morning, all student-athlete parents. Don't let your hectic schedules keep you from feeding your family. The Market on 30 can help you with quick and easy options like Pasquale's Pizzas, our famous mac and cheese, chicken strips, and much more. The Market on 30 in the BP Plaza.
Well, we're back once again at KCIM Sports Rewind. And, of course, congratulations to our Jill Higgins of Lorville, our sack of the game. This Friday night, boy, Carroll Kemper, they have got some terrific matchups.
They do, yeah. Carroll hosting Heelan. I'm kind of excited. I haven't had a chance to call a Carroll game yet this year, so I get that game coming up on Friday night and excited to see the guys get a chance to play. But you heard Casey talk earlier that the next 2 weeks they got Heelan at home this week, and then they go to Sergeant Bluff the week after. So they can't look past this Heelan game. Got to stop the running game and get their own running game going. And then Kemper at Des Moines Christian. Nick gets that one. Nate Graving going to be helping him out. I think Kemper still is the class of this district. But Des Moines Christian offensively is good. And from everything I understand, Mark Sawhill, longtime coach over at Jefferson Scranton and Jefferson Scranton, Peyton Sheridan, and Greene County, is the D coordinator. I understand that Des Moines Christian's defense better this year than it's been.
I'm interested to see who can make a stop on defense in that game. Not saying that the defenses are bad, but with both offenses, the capability of putting up a bunch of points, it's going to come down who can make more stops in that game. And Carroll is going to have to throw the football well, I think, in their game against Bishop Heelan coming up on Friday. Both teams going to want to run the football. Both teams really good at running the football. Who can throw it better might be the outline factor of that, and I give the upper edge to Carroll on that one right now.
All right, power rankings. Who's your top three teams this week after week 5?
I mean, Audubon's going to stay on top with them.
With a 64-6 win.
Yeah, and they're undefeated, look like the favorites in that district right now. And then, my other two are probably Carroll and Kemper. I would say Kemper probably the slight edge just because of the competition that they've played, and then you could interswap Carroll and Kemper. I really feel like
agreed,
but that's kind of the other two that I would throw up there.
Yeah, and that's where I would go right now too.
Audubon, Kemper, Carroll.
Yep. And like Casey said, I agree. Carroll and Kemper could be interswapped. You could almost tie them for second right now. So
there you go. There's week 5 of high school football. Week 6 is going to be a great one coming up this Friday night. We'll have more KCIM Sports Rewind coming up next, being brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It's KCIM Sports Rewind. We do it every Tuesday morning at 9:30, and of course, a podcast available on the website immediately following. We're going to talk a little volleyball here in a few moments, but a little cross-country last night. East Sac County on the road at Alta Aurelia.
Yeah, and the boys continue to run well. Landon Spohr 3rd, Riley Aragon 5th, and Owen Engel taking 9th. So 3 runners in the top 9. That boys team with those 3 competitive in every single meet that they go to.
They got a chance to qualify for state as a team again. Just depends on where they have to go and what other teams will be there. And those 3 have been kind of the leaders.
They have
in the front pack. And I know talking with Coach Wilkie this morning that she feels like the other 3 are really starting to close that gap, between the first 3 and the other ones.
And that's what they need. They need a 4th or a 5th to jump in there to give them a better chance of making the state meet. And then Libby Veit's their only girl, and she continues to get better every single meet. Finished 23rd last night, ran one of her better times of the year. So was a little injured early in the year, still kind of battling through that injury, but running pretty well right now.
Great day today to run, too. Kemper and South Central Calhoun, girls and boys for both, are going to be over at Denison tonight.
Yeah, and feel bad.
It's a hilly course.
It's a hilly course. I love going over and covering that meet, but I've got the volleyball match at Kemper hosting Glenwood with first place on the line in the Hawkeye 10 tonight, so not going to make it over there. But that's a fun one, and there's some big hills. There's one of them that's almost straight up and down.
There's got to be some kids out there that love that torture running the hills.
There are, yeah. Most of them don't really like it, I don't think, but you get the select few that really love running hills.
That's a great equalizer.
It is, yeah. Yeah, if you run hills well, you're going to run well over at the Denison meet.
All right, let's talk some volleyball. What's happened over the last week or so?
Kemper continues to play well.
Their only loss in the season come to a very good Bishop Healing team, a team that's probably going to be down in Coralville playing at the state volleyball tournament. But they continue to play well. I think kind of got surprised by Shenandoah a little bit, but I think Shenandoah better than what people think.
Yes, Shenandoah jumped into the rankings after losing to Kemper because of how well they played in that match. But I think Carroll High continues to grow. I know at one point they were 2-1 over at the tournament at Nevada on the weekend, but 3 of their 4 losses came to teams ranked. And stuff, and they played those teams well. So I think Carroll continuing to grow. Really like what ICAM Manning is doing right now under head coach Michaela Cron. Got a chance to watch them in Audubon over at Denison at the Boyer Valley tournament on Saturday, and they end up going 3-1. Their only loss, a 3-set loss to Denison Schleswig, who of course is a 4A school, and ICAM Manning just an A school, so or a 1A school, excuse me. So Addison, Bandow, Keegan Ashide, Grace Carroll give them 3 really nice hitters. Carly Arp setting the ball well for them. I like the way Anna Stangl is playing in the back row. They serve the ball well, so they're playing well. Kuhn struggling, and I'm not going to say struggling a little bit, but faltered a little bit.
Last week.
They've lost 3 of their last 4 matches, so look for them to maybe try and bounce back this week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we got some good volleyball games on hand tonight. So a lot of the area teams in action.
Yeah.
So
Xyro and Kimballton hosting
Boyer
Valley, and first place kind of on the line. If the Spartans win that one, then the top 4 teams in the league all have one loss. Yeah.
And then tonight you've got Glenwood and Kemper on Kick 106.7. That's going to be a great one in the Hawkeye 10.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. 2 ranked teams. We've been waiting all year for these matches, kind of for Kemper to come around. Not that they haven't played some good teams, but you get those elite level teams that they're going to be, Glenwood, Lewis Central, kind of down the stretch of the season here, and this is going to be a fun one. I'm so excited for this matchup tonight.
Yeah.
So volleyball going to be exciting tonight. Once again on the schedule for tonight, Glenwood and Kemper on Kick 106.7. Jeff, you've got the call on that one. Casey, you're going to be over in Glidden tonight with our Weeva at Glidden Ralston. That should begin about 7 o'clock as well. Those are our broadcast games for tonight.
Yes, and should be a couple of good ones.
Yeah.
Glidden Ralston, I think, played really well. They're starting to come together after the injuries and stuff.
Find themselves.
And refining themselves. McKenna Wiederin setting the ball well for them. They've kind of made some adjustments in the back row. And Arweva just needs to continue to take steps forward. I know they struggled the other night against Xyro and Kimballton. If they come out focused tonight, though, and play the way they were early in the year, I think they'll have a chance to be right in
somewhat of a rivalry game tonight, so it should be. To me, when we played rivalry games in high school, you just come out more focused for those, and I expect that tonight from both teams. So
they mean a little bit more.
Calendar now October. What does that mean for teams out there in regards to, say, I always thought, whenever I heard the baseball playoffs on the radio, I was out traveling doing volleyball tournament games. As the calendar turns, what do teams really need to focus in on right now?
I think if you're football teams, you can't afford to lose again. Especially if you want to get into the playoffs and maybe be able to host it. So I think you've got to go out and be.
There's only 3 weeks left for a lot of teams.
Yeah. So, and for volleyball, I think it's still trying to continue to get better. It's not that with everybody making the postseason in volleyball, you can lose. But I think you want to start playing your best now because the postseason's just a few weeks away.
What does the schedule look like? When do the pairings come out? Do we know? And
I honestly, I should look at that because it's going to be coming up here in about 2 weeks. Probably is about the time that the pairings are going to be coming out. So things are going to be getting exciting here soon. So.
All right, power rankings for volleyball. What do you got for us? Give me the top 3 teams.
Kemper's got to be the top team, and I think you look at the same thing kind of with football. I think SEC, ESAC kind of interchangeable right now. They're going to have a big match in a couple weeks to really probably decide the Twin Lakes Conference champions. So looking forward to that one as well. Yeah,
both of them are going to have some tests before then. I know South Central still has Newell Fonda left on the schedule, and that's after ESAC. But that ESAC matchup against South Central is going to weigh heavy on who wins the Twin Lakes Conference this year. So,
all right. So coming up also on the website, I heard you talking about this the other day. You're going to be having some athlete features coming up. What's the deal on this?
Yeah, so it's a new thing we've done with Brinks Cabinets, and We're going to be doing a spotlight interview with a female and a male athlete from our area schools every month. So you'll kind of learn more about all the different sports they play in, schooling, and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's going to be kind of a spotlight athlete who's performing well and that kind of stuff for that month. So.
All right, look for that at sports.1380kcim.com and through the mobile app. And that is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. Once again, catch a podcast available on the website and the mobile app coming up here in just a few more moments. It's KCIM Sports Rewind on 1380 AM, 95.1 FM, KCIM Carroll.